how to find a mentor. Now, you might be wondering why you're in the car with me. I'll address that at the end of this video. For now, that's one of the most common questions I get from people. Dan, how do you find a mentor? Well, let me take you back to the beginning, because when I was getting started, I was trying all kinds of ideas and all kinds of businesses, and I had all these crazy thoughts and ideas and wanted to do different things and wanted to be successful. And I started and failed at 13 businesses before having my first success. Now, during that period of time, like most people, I was reading the books. I read Think and Grow Rich from front to back like 10 times. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read so many of these personal development books and success books, and I was attending events and going to seminars. And all those things, they helped to a certain degree, but I would say that I'm where I'm today because of my mentors. Now, over the years, I've had, I would say, 2 mentors who I consider two people that are my mentors in my whole life. Now, although I've learned from different people, of course, throughout my career, but there are only 2 mentors that I have. Now, the first mentor that I have, his name is Alan Jacks. And I met Alan when I was in my early 20s. It's kind of interesting. At the time, Alan, before he retired, he used to run one of the most successful financial education company in Canada. And at the time, they were doing a lot of direct mail. And I would be, because I was attending all these workshops, I would get these direct mail pieces. Now, most people would think of those as junk mail, but I didn't. And I would collect them because I was fascinated by how the marketing is done and how he does certain things. And I would collect these letters, and I would 3-hole punch them and put in the 3-wing binders. I still have them today. And it would always come from this person called Alan Jacks. And Alan, at the time, he was the founder of the Real Estate Investment Network, and today it's a huge company. He sold that many years ago. Anyway, but he was the very first guy who pioneered the concept of like continuity and a membership program. He was the first guy who pioneered kind of the free seminar model in Canada, where you would get people to attend a free seminar, and then they would then offer them different high-end programs, high-ticket programs. Anyway, so one day I was attending one of these workshops, because I didn't have a lot of money. I would attend all these free workshops. And sitting next to me, I looked at the name tag. I said, no, it couldn't be. And I thought about it. I looked at it again. It said Alan Jacks. I said, there's no way. So I couldn't help, and I asked, I said, are you Alan Jacks? And he said, yes, I am. I said, are you the one that's sending the letters and like the invite people to attend workshops and things like that? I said, I am. I'm the one who wrote all those pieces. I said, no way. Like, I said, you're my hero. And then he was first a little bit like taken by that. I said, okay, you attend my workshops. I said, no, not the workshop, the marketing. I love the way you do marketing. I said, I collect all your letters. I put in the 3-wing binders and I study them. And he was a little bit surprised, because I don't think he's ever heard of anyone like acknowledge and gave him compliment on his marketing. Although he is a marketing genius. And it's like a 20-year-old kid. And I said, Alan, oh man, I love what you do. I admire you so much. I said, can I buy you lunch? And he looked at me and said, okay. I still remember what he said. He said, nah, what the hell? I gotta eat. And that's how we started a relationship. I bought him lunch, and we had lunch, and then later on, I actually volunteered to work for his company for next to nothing for a year. And I would go into the office, I would help him organize the paperwork, because we were doing so much direct mail at the time. I would lick the stamps, right? I would lick the envelope. It's funny because I was licking a lot of envelope, and I didn't know because it tastes horrible. After he saw me do a whole bunch of envelopes, like a few hundred letters, he said, you do know, Dan, you can use water, right? I said, thank you. And I didn't know, because I thought, God, this is like I'm poisoning myself here. And the stamps, and I would take those to the mailbox, the mail post office. And And that's how we started a relationship. And that's my first mentor. And the lesson for that is, instead of asking yourself, how do you find a mentor? I believe your mentor actually finds you. That most people, they think of, where it doesn't matter where you're starting. That you think, well, I want to be successful. I want to make more money. I want to have whatever goals that you have. Instead of approaching your potential mentors as oh, you are successful, you should help me, poor little me. Don't approach it like that. Approach as how you can add value to their lives. Always give first before you ask anything in return. And that's what I did. I seeked our mentor. I helped him. I worked for him for next to nothing for a year. I just want to add value to what he does. Because understand this, your mentor doesn't need you. He or she is already successful. They are where you want to be in your dreams. So think about, why would they even want to spend and invest their time and effort with you? You got to think about that. Don't come from the angle of being selfish, or just because someone is successful, they're obligated to help me. That's a very poor person's mentality. Add value to what they do first, and don't even go to them with an agenda. Because think about, I can tell you, when you're successful, people come to me for two things. Either they come to me for money, or they come to me for a job. You don't want to go to your mentors with either of these two things, because then they'll categorize you as, oh, this guy just wants something from me, or that he just wants money from me, or whatever the agenda. But versus with Alan, I just say, I just want to learn, and at the time I said, anything I can do to help, and he gave me more and more and more responsibility, and he trusts me more and more and more over the years. And then later on, he would just say, you know what, you're doing all these admin work, why don't you help me do some of this marketing stuff? And he started showing me, how do you write copy? How do you communicate? How do you use words to influence people? And that's the year that changed my life. And that's my first mentor. Now my second mentor, and some of you may know if you follow my work on YouTube channel, his name is Dan Pena. And I met Dan kind of through his work. I bought his book on eBay, and through that period of time, and now both have been my mentors over a decade now. And Dan, of course, taught me different things. Maybe I'll make a future video about my story with Dan. I call him Big Dan, Mr. Pena. And so what I'm saying is this: when you seek your mentor, you want to find someone who you respect. You want to find someone who you resonate with. Just because someone is successful financially doesn't necessarily make them a good mentor. Because sometimes they are successful in a certain way, but you have to ask yourself, are they the ideal role models for you, right? Do you share the same value? Do you connect with them, right? With Alan, we connect on so many different levels. Are you comfortable kind of hanging out with your mentor? I think that's very, very critical. That there has to be some form of connection, not just business, but the social sense, right? I think that's very important. And you don't want to go to them where you are very, of course, you want to spend time, you want to get as much time with them as possible, but at the same time, respect their time, respect the space, because they're also very, very busy, chances are, if they're successful. I think those would be the main tips. Now, I do know that sometimes what holds people back is that doesn't matter where you're at, and you see someone who's very successful, that you're afraid to approach them. I can tell you over the years, putting mentors aside, whenever I see someone successful, and when I seek help, when I ask them for lunch, when I ask them for dinner, when I just reach out, very sincere, not with no agenda, not trying to get money from them or anything like that, I just want knowledge. 9 out of 10, I can tell you that people who are successful, they're very generous. I've been turned down maybe a handful of times. Out of the hundreds and hundreds of times I ask people, I've turned down maybe a couple of times. And it shows you that people who are successful, if you approach them with sincerity, they would say, and at the time I was nobody, I was just a kid. And they would say, sure, I'll give you the time. And they would spend the time, and you ask good questions, and I would take notes, obviously, and I learned through that period of time. So those are good. So don't be afraid to ask. That's what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to ask. When you find that mentor, when you find that person, when you find the mentor that you know, this is who I want to learn from, you go all in. You just go all in. Don't be jumping from oh, I learned a little bit from this guy, I learned a little bit from that guy, I learned a little bit from that guy. You never get good. Because it's the same metaphor that I use in martial art, right? Let's say if you want to learn karate or you want to learn taekwondo or you learn boxing, just imagine. This week you go to a boxing class, next week you'll go to a taekwondo class, the week after you go to a karate class. You will not get good at any one of them. It's impossible. But when you find something, say, you know what, I want to learn Kung Fu, okay, I learned from one instructor, and usually you look at martial art, they stay with that instructor for years, sometimes decades, to learn and master that art. And the same in business. People somehow in business, they think they can watch a fucking YouTube video. Oh, I watched one video, I understand this guy, what he's about. It's ridiculous if you think about it. But that's how people think nowadays. And or they watch one video, they assume a certain things about you. And people, the same thing with, they watch my videos, they assume a certain things about me, but the truth, they don't know shit about me. Unless you met me in person, unless I have worked with you, unless we've done business together, they don't know. They don't know. But that's human being. They like to pitch and hold, they like to come up with their own judgment conclusions. Anyway, so that's how we find a